हरे कृष्णा। जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जय, निताय चैतन्य की जय, परशुराम भगवान की जय, वामन देव की जय, गिरि गोवर्धन की जय, पंचतत्व की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, we are doing this chapter number 16, divine and demoniac nature, and today's verse is 13 to 15. Idam adya maya labdham imam prapsye manoratham idam asti idam api me bhavishyati punardhanam asau maya hatas shatrur hanishye chaparan api ishwaroham aham bhogi siddhoham balavan sukhi adhyobhi जनावान अस्मि कोन्योस्ति सदृशो मया यक्षे दास्यामि मोदिष्य इत्यज्ञाना विमोहिताः. The translation says, the demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more. Here is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, happy. I am the richest man, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. So, in this chapter, we are seeing a stark contrast between two types of people that has been described by Lord Shri Krishna. The first type of people are called as the divine, and the second type of people are called as the demoniac. And Lord Krishna starts with the description of the people who are divine in nature. And then right now, Krishna is speaking about the qualities of a demoniac person. And Krishna says that there are two types of people, divine and demoniac. So there's a clear distinction between these two types of people. So there are always two types of people. That is the divine and the demoniac, Sura and Asura. Sura is divine, Asura is demoniac. So always in the past, we have seen such kind of demoniac people and divine people. We have seen them. Even right now, we can see them. We've seen them maybe in the recent past also, and even today in the today's society also, we can find such people who are demoniac. Okay, and if we closely introspect, we can see that there is some demoniac tendency within us also. So, but then that's a natural consequence of being born in the Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel. Okay, so this demoniac contamination is there within us, which can be removed by Krishna consciousness. But even before we go to that point, we'll just discuss about this demoniac nature and study in detail what is this demoniac nature. Okay. So over the last couple of verses, Lord Krishna has been describing about the demoniac people. Okay, particularly starting from 16.4. In this chapter, Krishna has been describing about the demoniac people, that the demoniac people have certain qualities. What are these qualities? For example, they have qualities such as pride. So for example, if you actually think about today's modern civilization, it's built upon pride. I mean, we feel very proud about something, right? You know, I'm very proud about myself, you know, something like that. So that is damba, okay, excessive pride, okay, and darpa, arrogance, being so proud that I don't care for anybody, and abhimana, and krodha, anger, and being very harsh towards others. These are the qualities of the demoniac nature people. So this is the wonderful thing about our Sanatana Dharma, is that we have got case studies for whatever has been explained here. So what has been explained here is the theory that here is how a demoniac person is. Here are the qualities of a demoniac person. It's not just the looks. So generally we think that a demoniac person maybe looks ugly. No, that's not the thing. A demoniac person is actually a bad person. And how do you define bad? How do you define good? So this is the kind of debate that we ask, right? It's not possible to define good and bad. But here it is, the actual definition of good and bad. So the bad or the demoniac, they are very excessively pride, and they have arrogance, and they are angry always, and they have harshness, and they are ignorant. And Krishna continues to say that the demoniac people, they do not know what is to be done, what is not to be done. So they kind of do the activities which are not supposed to be done. So for example, if the Vedas say, do not do this, you see, for example, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita, the purpose of Vedas is to get compassion towards all living entities. So it is said, Jivadaya Krishna Nama Sarva Dharma Sara. That means there are only two things that are most important essence of the Veda. That is Jiva Dharma. That is Jiva Daya. Jiva Daya means to get compassion for every living entity. Forget about human beings, including the animals as well. And Krishna Nama, to be able to chant the names of Krishna and to be able to cry in ecstasy. This is the essence of the Vedic literature. But what is happening today in the world is the opposite. So there is no daya. So there is the opposite. I mean, there is no anukampa, there is no empathy. So people are killing each other ruthlessly. So the demoniac people, they do not understand what is to be done and what is not to be done. They do not realize that by doing this kind of violence, they are actually going to go to hell. Krishna is going to explain the next verse. Today we are doing the 16.13 to 15. We will see in 16.16, Krishna says that these people who are demoniac in nature, they fall down into hell. And Krishna continues to say how they will be punished in hell. So these people, first of all, they will go to hell, and then they will be born as animals. And they'll be put through so many animal lives until they get the human life. You see, this is the natural evolution that's happening. You see, just like how we are protected by the law of the land, for example, by the constitution, the entire material universe, all the living entities are being controlled by the Vedas. The Vedas are the strict rules based upon which we get karma. So the living entities within the material world, they cannot cross their limit beyond a point. Even if, let us say that there is a living entity which is outrageously violent within this material world, such people will be made to suffer in the upcoming lifetimes in such a way that they won't be able to perform these heinous activities again. Okay. So this way, what happens is that just like how the law of the land is protecting people, for example, the traffic laws are there, most of them are reactive. That is, if you're going to break the signal, you're going to get fined. So that is how it works, right? So as soon as somebody is going to break all this or transgress these laws of the Vedas, which are also called as the laws of material nature, these are not something written by a human being. These are applicable to the material nature. I mean, they're enforced by the material nature. It does not matter the nationality, the religion, or the faith that a person has. These are the laws of material nature and they're factual. Okay. So, like I was saying, see, the essence of religion is that we must be compassionate to others. You see, we saw um, there is a wonderful example of Ranti Deva. You see, Ranti Deva was a very generous king and he did a fasting for 48 days. And then we see one after the other people come in and they ask for a share of his food. And he happily shares his food to them. And then to the extent that he is ready to give away the last glass of water that he has to somebody to mitigate their suffering. And at the end, he says, you see, I don't want to see anybody suffer. All I want to see is that everybody is happy, even if it takes that I am unhappy. He says that, oh, my dear Lord, I just pray for something that everybody's suffering is transferred to me. I would like to suffer on behalf of everybody while all of them be becoming free from suffering. Do you understand what is the stand of Ranti Deva, the pure devotee, which is the Bhagavata Dharma, versus the current modern civilization, the demoniac people who are saying that you do not have right to live, therefore I shall kill you indiscriminately. Can you see the stark contrast between the demoniac and the divine? It's so clear. It's all over the place. So this is the wonderful thing about our Vedas, that we have clear-cut case studies and examples of how we are supposed to be living our life. So the demoniac people, they create some kind of namesake religions which end up in violence. And they do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. And therefore, proper behavior is not found in them. So that some categories of the demoniac people are theistic, whereas some people are not theistic. The atheistic people, they say that there is no God in control. So that is one kind of category. And then the other category which says that some kind of imaginary God, or saying that I am God, that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Both are demoniac kind of a conclusions. So ultimately, these demoniac people, they have no intelligence and they engage in unbeneficial and horrible works meant to destroy the world. That's what Krishna says in 16.9. He says, Ugra karmanaha kshayaya jagato ahitaha. That means they are acting some kind of activities which are really not beneficial for the world. They're actually harmful. They're horrible activities. So they're performing some horrible activities to destroy the world. So that is what we are witnessing today in the world, that people are killing each other indiscriminately, including the civilians. You see, the Vedic warfare, it completely condemns the killing of women and children and the disabled and those people who are unarmed and those who are not ready to fight. See, the warfare rules according to the Vedas is very, very strict. So the rules of warfare of the Vedas is that a person whom you're going to fight with must be, first of all, be ready to fight, willing to fight, must be equipped with arms. And then if he is willing to fight, only then from the face you have to attack. And then that's the kind of a legal fight. But then today we are seeing people in the name of some kind of faiths, they are actually killing people, taking them to hostages and torturing people. So this is very far from the conclusion of what actually Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. It's exactly the opposite, you see. So then what is the basis of these people? So are they doing it out of love of God? or are they doing it for lust? Krishna says they are doing it because they have insatiable lust and insatiable pride and false prestige. So, out of excessive false pride and prestige and anger, and especially lusty desires, these people tend to do such kind of activities. If you see, if you ask this kind of terrorists and militants, what is your purpose? Why are you doing this kind of activities? They will say that after death, we will be given an opportunity to have or to satisfy our lusty desires. So, their motivation is not to please God, it is to please themselves in an excessive way. So it is purely based out of lust. So therefore, they are demoniac. And these demoniac people, they think that gratifying senses is the primary necessity of the human form of life. So that means they do not understand anything beyond sensual enjoyment. So these demoniac people are not going inwards, nor are they trying to get the bliss from within, that is the Brahmananda, or the bliss derived from the love of God at Premananda. They are very far from it. They are just looking forward for Jadananda, that is the happiness that is derived from senses, that too from the belly and the genitals, which is the most abominable kind of a sensual pleasure. That's like the lowest sensual pleasure. So more or less, they are on the platform of the animals. Even the animals also, they fight only when there is a reason. Why do animals fight? For domination. For example, if there is a pride of lions, if there's a lion that wants to dominate that pride for the sake of protecting the territory, that's the only time when that lion will fight. And when a lion kills, it kills only when it is hungry. But these demoniac people, they do not understand that they should not be violent unnecessarily. They don't understand that. And they're completely, they do not have any kind of distinction. They go ahead and kill the hostages, the civilians, and everybody. They just don't care about any kind of differentiation. So they don't care for this Vedic injunctions. But let me tell you that these kind of people who continue to do this, there is some kind of special places meant for them. You see? So that's what in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a description of 28 hellish planets. So Krishna also is going to say subsequently in the verses of chapter number 16, he says that those people who are excessively lusty, excessively angry, excessively greedy, and who indulge in this horrible kind of activities, they will be sent to hell. And there is a vivid description of these kind of hells in Srimad Bhagavatam. For example, just to tell you some names of some kind of hells. So there is a name of a hell which is there, which is called as Tapta Surmi. Okay. And those people who indulge in sexual intercourse with an unworthy member of opposite sex is punished after death by the assistance of Yamaraja in a hell known as Tapta Surmi. What is the kind of punishment that's there given? Those men and women are beaten with whips, and the man is forced to embrace the red-hot iron form of a woman. And the woman is forced to embrace a similar form, that is a red-hot form of a man. So this is the punishment for the illicit sex. You see, this is a kind of a hell. So similarly, I'll tell you one more kind of a hell, which is called as Krimi Bhojana. Krimi Bhojana is a hell which is filled with worms. It is like 1 lakh yojanas and it is filled with worms. Okay, so then that person is put in that hell and he's made to be fed by worms. Okay, so unless that person atones for his actions, he will be put there in all those worms, among all those worms, or you see, to be eaten by those worms. So this is a person who does not divide whatever food he receives between the guests old men and children, but if he simply eats himself without performing the sacrifices, he's put in such kind of a hell. You see? So there are different kinds of hell like this. So I'll tell you something. If there is somebody who is being very violent against living entities, he's put in a hell called as Raurava. There is a separate hell for that. Raurava, Maharaurava, Andatamishra, etc. So, for example, a person who just who is committing violence against other living entities, right? For the sake of maintaining himself, such a person is putting into Raurava. Okay, so these are the kind of hells. Okay, so the point that we have to understand here is that the demoniac people, their mentality is what's been explained. Okay, their mentality is that they think that they are the best. So we also have to reflect if we have some traces of this demoniac nature within us. I mean, and we have to be honest with us, with ourselves. Okay, we have to be honest within ourselves. And of course, there are very, very starkly, clearly demoniac people out there in the world. There's no doubt about it. We may not be as bad as them. And I'm sure that they're going to go to hell for sure. There's no other thing for them. There's definitely they're going to go to hell. Okay. But it's also a chance for us to see within and see if we have some traces of demoniac nature within us. So in today's verse, Krishna is saying, I'm a very wealthy person. For example, this is generally we think, right? I'm a very rich man. I will give some charity, right? This is my money. This is my money. Let me look at my money. So this is also a demoniac tendency. If you're trying to accumulate money and looking at it again and again, and I don't distribute it to those people who are worthy of receiving it. Okay, for example, let's say that if we promise somebody that I'm going to give you this, and then I take back, I'm saying, no, I'm not going to give you that. That's also mine. This is called sinful activity. You see, this is sinful activity. And thinking like this, that, a demoniac person is thinking like, so much is mine and I'm going to increase it day by day. He is my enemy and I've killed him, right? So this is clearly demoniac tendency. That's what is happening in the world today, right? So he is my enemy, he is my friend. This kind of a mentality is also not a good mentality. If we have a mentality where we think that this person is my enemy and I want to kill him, then definitely we have demoniac tendency within us. Because the fact is that there is no enemy at all. Srimad Bhagavatam says the only enemy that you have is your mind. Factually, there's no enemy. But then why is that person behaving in such a way? The reason is because of our own karma. Factually, there's no enemy. Okay, but what happens is, because of these three modes of material nature, the 16 elements, the mind, intelligence, false ego, and the combination of all the 16 elements, the living entity, which is a pure soul, starts to experience desire, anger, and hatred, which is purely nothing to do with him. It's just that 16 elements, it's just that equipment which is there within us, that's just working against us. That's it. We just have to take control of things. Okay. So a demoniac person thinks, I am the Lord of everything. Ishwaroham. This is a common tendency we see in the demoniac people. A demoniac person is narcissistic and he loves himself so much, excessively. I love myself so much that I hate everybody else. This is also very bad tendency where the person is thinking, Ishwaroham, I am God. If you're going to ask, please worship Krishna, I will say, who Krishna? Why Krishna? I am Krishna. You see, I'm sure you would have come across some people like that. If you ask like, yeah, we should worship God, then why should I worship God? I am only God. Right? So this is Ishwaroham. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect. I'm the richest man. There's nobody as powerful, as happy as I am. And I should perform some sacrifices, I shall perform some charity, I shall rejoice. So this is like the namesake religion, right? I'll perform some sacrifices. I mean, just do a show of some kind of religious activity, bring everyone, show how rich I am, and just do something and just give some charity and put my board there. Just see, just look at my board. It's there. Can you see that? I'm so great, right? So, and there's nobody as powerful as I am, and I will enjoy. So, this is the ignorance. Okay. So, Krishna continues to say in the next verse that these people with this demoniac tendency, they are going to go to hell for sure. Okay. So, that's the verse for today. So, the verse for today, let me summarize what we did today. We spoke about the divine and the demoniac. So that's the chapter we are in, Sura Asura Yoga, and where Krishna is very clearly explaining about the people who have divine nature and demoniac nature. So Bhagavad Gita is very much relevant to our world. Who says that the Vedas are not relevant? They are more relevant than ever. The Vedas and Bhagavad Gita are very much relevant. So this kind of people are there. It gives us an opportunity to identify the demoniac people. But the problem today is, more or less, both the parties who are fighting, they're both demoniac. That's the problem. If you understand what I mean. See, there are two parties fighting who claim themselves to be divine and the other to be demoniac. But from the activities that both are performing, we can see that both are demoniac. Okay, so that's what is happening today. But nevertheless, it's an automatic or a natural consequence of being in Kali Yuga. We saw how these demoniac people, they do not know what has to be done and what must not be done. So they do exactly the opposite of what the injunctions of the Vedas say. They do such activities and then they perform very unbeneficial, horrific, ghastly activities meant for destroying the world. That's what they do. And they claim that they are the controller of the world. And then the basis of their actions is lust and anger. The basis of their actions is not love. So this is one simple way to find out, okay, who is a divine and who is demoniac. So with that, we will stop today's verse discussion. Thank you very much for joining. If you have any questions, you can ask, or if you want to add something, yeah, you're welcome to add something. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. You can unmute yourself if you want. Hare Krishna. Anybody has any questions or anybody wants to add something to it? Any comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Dhanyavad Pranam. Thank you very much.